All right, I think we're good to go now. We are officially recording. Sloppy Joe there. I knew I should have bailed out when I was up there. So what's happening, guys? A little bit of a break from posting videos on here. Sorry about that. That was unintentional. Things just got a little bit crazy there, and then our schedule has been real funky. But it's finally seems to be back to normal temporarily. So we'll roll with it while we can. But today, what I want to do is talk about the musician curse. And I think there's a couple of them, and you guys can let me know what you think. And the first one I want to talk about is something that I think it doesn't like annoy my wife, but she like mentions it a lot. Is I think once you become a musician and you hear music on the radio, you can't help, or at least I can't help, but kind of like dissect the stuff in my brain. I really hone in on one instrument because we'll be listening to something. I'm like, oh, I really like that bass line, and there, or like, oh, that's a really cool little like synth pad thing that's underneath whatever's happening. And multiple times she's mentioned, she's like, can you like do you ever just listen to music like the whole, like the song as an entirety? Entirety? Is that a word? I don't know. And it got me thinking. I was like, you know what? I don't think I ever do, and I don't even know if I can. I tried it, but I think it's like I'm so distracted by individual things that's happening, like this drum roll that happened. All of them like, oh, that was really like interesting how they did that. So I think once you become a musician, you can't just listen to music anymore and enjoy it as like, oh, this is a good song. Your brain is 100% picking that thing apart. You're like, oh, I love that little muted guitar part, and then it happens right in the chorus there for just like a second. Did you hear that? And everyone else is just like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't hear anything. So it's that's the first curse, that I'm kind of like. I think as guitar player, well, for me, I'm just a guitar player, but musicians, guitarists, you can't help but, unintentionally dissect songs when you're just listening to them in the car. So does anyone else do that? Like, I'm always just like hearing, I'm like, oh, I love that bass line. I love this or that or this, The other thing I wanted to talk about, let me play guitar for a second here. The whole time. The way I'm playing, maybe I should just stick to the talking. The other one I want to talk about, although I just played really sloppily, is, it's hard once you learn how to kind of mute the strings and you work on technique and all that stuff. There's this certain like grittiness that guys like Jimmy Page and all those guys, some people say it's being sloppy. I view it as almost like a technique because he did consistently play the same thing over and over again. But there's like this rawness, this like looseness, and once you start honing in on technique and all that stuff, I feel like you lose it and it's gone forever. I don't know how to get that feel and sound back. I feel like you have it for a while as you're a beginner because everything's just kind of rough, It's not precise. It's this real loose aspect, and I don't know how to emulate it. I think that's why I listen to guys like Page or even Blackmore. All of them kind of had this like roughness to their playing, and I think as when the 80s really kicked in and the real technicians kind of came out, I feel like so much of that was lost. And like, I know I have a hard time. I'll hear a riff, I'm like, oh man, I can't play it right. There's this like grittiness to it. So I think that's at least for a guitarist, that's definitely like a curse that I've had other people mention that they feel the same way. That it's just hard to get that back. For some reason, you can clean up your playing, but you kind of sloppying it up in the right way, it's hard to do. It's hard to do that, to get this rough, like good but bad sound. I don't know. It's just something I think about sometimes. I'm like, I just can't play that riff right, because it's not like humble brag. I'm playing too clean. I can't mess it up enough. That's not the case at all. I'm saying that it's just interesting how you can't go back to that former self. At least I can't. Hello? That's probably all I got for you today. I'll probably just goof around and play guitar a little bit more. That's okay. And, let me know what you guys think about those. Those are just two things. I think about those kind of all the time, really. I'm like, man, you can't just listen to a song. And how do you get back to that, like, just rock and roll sound?